Mr. Maponya.
Thank you, Madam Chair, once again. With leave of the commission, may we call upon the second witness, which is Ernest Mbano.
Yes. Advocate Muloto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please, sir, will you state your full names for the record?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Ernest Mbano.
Mr. Mbano, do you have any objection to taking the oath?
No.
In that case, do you then swear that the evidence that you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you. The witness
Thank you,
has been sworn in.
Advocate Muloto.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, Mr. Mbano.
Good morning, sir.
Previously, in giving your evidence, you had stated that you are an operations manager in the city of Johannesburg, Region F. Is that still the case?
Yes, sir.
I would start with paragraph 28 of your witness statement, where you stated that on or about 2018, picked it up officials collecting waste within the vicinity of the Usindiso building noticed that instead of using the receptacles provided by Pick It Up, the residents of the Usindiso building were disposing some of their waste at the corner Albert and Delva Street, which caused the area to become unsanitary. Apologies for that, Chair. Can you tell the Commission as to whether you have provided the residents of Usindiso with receptacles?
Okay. The residents of Usindiso building, we've provided them with a skip container bin, which is a 6 cubic meter, that we have placed it on the corner of Delvas and Albert Street.
I understand that, but in your statement, you said on or about 2018, Pick It Up officials collecting waste within the vicinity of the Usindiso building noticed that instead of using the receptacles provided by Pick It Up, they were not used. So
Correct.
I'm asking if indeed you provided the receptacles to the residents of Usindiso or not.
Yes, we did provide them.
And when was this?
Somewhere around in 2018. I can't remember the exact month and the date, but it was in 2018.
Ayike ufakazi qala ngokuthi ufakazi enziswe izifungo umnumzana uMbanu lapho yewaphakamisa khona isandla sakhe sangokwesokudla wafunga ukuthi uzokhuluma iqiniso lodwa futhi wacela ukuthi inkosi imsize ukuba enze kanjalo. Ayike ummeli umnumzana uMaponya ubese qala indaba ngokuthi aphinda abuze ukuthi ingabe kusenjengoba kunjalo yini ukuthi umnumzana uMbano ongufakazi useyiyo yini usekhona yini ku region 7 lapho esebenza khona njenge operation manager yakhona. uvumile ufakazi ukuthi yebo akukashintshi kusanjengoba kunjalo. Ubeke semcela ukuthi abaye kwistatement ekhasini 28 lapho amcaphunele khona amazwi abhaliwe, amazwi athi ngo 2018 baphawula ukuthi izakhamuzi za leli bhilidi Usindiso yize zazinikezwe into yokuthi zilahle umgqomo udoti kuyona, kodwa zase zingcolisile ngokuthi zingalahleli lapha yakwakufanele zilahle khona, kodwa kunalokho udoti wawulahlwa ekhoneni lika Albert no Delvas Street. Ube esephendula umfakazi ukuthi yebo sazinikeza ngempela izakhamuzi umgqomo omkhulu ngama 6 cubic meter ukuthi zilahle kuwona udoti lezi zakhamuzi. Uphindile futhi umeli umbuzo wakhe ukuthi kodwa ngiyakuzwa lokho ngwestatement sakho nithe ngo 2018 upick it up wabanikeza lo mgqomo omkhulu. Ngifuna ukuqiniseka ukuthi ingabe ngempela kuyiqiniso yini ukuthi lezi zakhamuzi nazihlinzeka ngomgqomo omkhulu okulahlela udoti. Ufakazi uthi yebo. Ube sebuza ummeli ukuthi kunini. Ngisho engasakhumbula ufakazi ukuthi kunini kodwa uthi kumaphakathi ka 2018.
Are you aware that there were people staying at Usindiso building before 2018?
Yes, we are aware.
So could you tell the commission as to what prompted the issuing out of the receptacles, specifically in 2018?
Okay. As I've said before, that our sweepers that are based on the streets every day to clean, they have noticed that residents of Usindiso were not using the receptacles that they were given to them to contain their waste. Hence, they were throwing all the waste at the corner outside the building. That's when now we decided that instead of us not wasting a lot of our resources, let's rather put one of the skip bins which will collect it based on the schedule of the truck that is deployed around Marshalltown. So yes, we did place that skip after we've noticed that the residents of Usindiso, they are throwing out waste instead of using the receptacles that they were given before.
Ube sebuza ke umnumzane uMaponya ukuthi uyazi yini ufakazi ukuthi bekunabantu abebehlala kuleli bhilidi ngisho nangaphambi konyaka ka 2018. Uvumile ufakazi ukuthi yebo uyakwazi lokho. Manje ubesebuza ummeli ukuthi pho kungani kwaze kwabekwa lo mgqomo omkhulu kaDoti ngonyaka ka 2018 kanti bebekhona abantu ngisho nangaphambi kwalokho. Ufakazi uphendulile ukuthi abantu babo abashanela noma abagcina idolobha lihlanzekile abasebenza ushanele baqoqa udoti yibona ababika abasho ukuthi sibonile ukuthi kunenqwaba kaDoti lapha ya ekhoneni lika Albert no Delvas Street, ngakho lo doti ulahlwa lapho phansi. Ilapho ke abanquma khona ukuthi hayi uma kunodoto olahlwa phansi kungcono ke balethe umgqomo omkhulu ozolahlelwa kuudoti ukuze lo mgqomo uqoqwe ngezinsuku abasuke beqoqa ngazo udoti lapha ya eMarshalltown.
Could you tell the commission as to how many receptacles were given to the residents of Usindiso?
Okay. Prior me taking over as an ops manager, I was told or informed that they were given wheelie bins, the 240-liter wheelie bins, which in turn they couldn't manage to use them. That's why now they decided to throw the waste outside the street. That's when, during my time, I decided, let me put a skip container outside so that they can use it. That was in 2018.
Ubesebuza ummeli ukuthi njengoba nithi nabahlinzeka ngomgqomo omkhulu kaDoti na yayimangaki lemigqomo. Umnumzana uMbanu uthi watshelwa yena ngaphambi kokuthi angene kulesi sikhundla sokuba operation manager ukuthi lezi zakhamuzi zake zanikezwa imigqomo nansi lemigqomo enamasondo edonswayo engu 240 eyanikezwa yona, kodwa kubonakala sengathi babengakwazi ukuthi bayisebenzise ke lemgqomo babehlinzekwe ngayo. Ngakho wathi uma esethatha intambo yena njenge operation manager wayesethi kungcono ke bahlinzekwe ngalomgqomo omkhulu le ukuze bakwazi ukulahlela kuwo udoti owawuzoqoqwa.
So you do not have first hand account as to whether they were given those receptacles and how many receptacles they were given?
No, I'm not quite sure how many were they given before then. But what I was told is they did have 240-liter bins that they were given. That's 240, meaning the size of the wheelie bins that they were given, but the figure, I'm not sure how many were they.
Uyabuza umele ukuthi ngakho ngamanye amazwi awukwazi ukusho ngokuthe ngqo ukuthi mangaki anike abanikezwa wona ufakazi uthi yebo akakwazi ukusho kodwa futhi umecacisa ngalo 240 akuwona inani lemiqomo lo 240 kodwa inani lamalitha athwalwa yilo mqomo kodwa inani lawo ukuthi mangaki cha akazi ukuthi mangaki.
So your evidence is based on hearsay, or do you have any report in your evidence that suggests that perhaps how many receptacles and when?
No, I'm not sure how many were they given.
So I'm saying,
It's a hearsay that I was informed.
Uthi ummeli ngamanye amazwi ubufakazi bakho ke kuyinzwa bethi into watshelwa nje yona awunabo ubufakazi ophelele ukuthi mangaki. Uyavuma ufakazi umnumzana umbani ukuthi cha impela yinzwa bethi watshelwa naye ukuthi kwakhishwa lemqomo ingamalitha ngu240 kodwa akakwazi akazanga uthola umbiko yinzwa bethi.
so am I right to assume that, given the fact that, as you have alluded in your evidence, that the residents of Usindiso building, they were sort of putting trash outside the building, does that not conflict with your evidence that there was receptacles given?
Like I said before, that I was informed that they were given receptacles to use. Hence, now they couldn't use the receptacles. We don't know whether they still have them or not. But now we try to avoid that waste piling outside. As it's a healthy hazard, we decided to put a skip container outside the building.
Ummeli ke ube sethi angakubeka yini phambi kwakhe ke manje ukuthi kuzwakala ngathi kukhona ukungqubuzana ngoba uthi banikezwa umgqomo kodwa manje kuzwakala sengathi laba balezakhamuzi zazilahla phansi udodi. Uyakucacisa ufakazi ukuthi cha lokho akushoyo into athi yayenziwa ngaphambili ngoba laba bantu banikezwa lemgqomo ethatha ungu240 liter ngaphambi kwalokho ngakho njengoba engazike ukuthi kwayona leyo mgqomo yayisekhona yini babesenayo yini ingakho ke yena athi abafakelwe lo mgqomo omkhulu ngoba engasaqiniseki ukuthi kwenzekani ngale yamgqomo yangaphambili aezwa ngayo ukuthi bahlinze kwayona.
So given that there was no site of receptacles and there was some sort of dumping outside of the Usindiso building, was there any inquiry as to follow up if whether there was indeed receptacles or necessary material to assist with waste management inside the Usindiso building?
Chairperson, we are sorry to disturb my learned friend. We like to object to the line of questioning. It's being put to the witness without there being reference to any evidence that there perhaps there wasn't in fact any bin inside or receptacles, as my learned friend refers, inside the building. This is done in an instance where, for example, Chairperson, Mr. Vusmuzi Kenneth Dube has given evidence that confirmed as a resident, a former resident of the building, that there were bins inside and that they had difficulties as residents because a certain group of people decided not to use the bins but would rather throw the waste into that open court area. Therefore, the line of questioning cannot be sustained.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Mnyando, I will allow the question.
Oh, I was about to respond to that, but thank you, Chair.
Yes, you may proceed.
So was there any inquiry in terms of
What? An inquiry?
indeed so be that you stated that there was dumping, as I was alluding earlier on, was there any inquiry in terms of your office, they pick it up to say that now that there's dumping, what must be done in terms of addressing the issues inside of Usindiso building in terms of waste management is concerned?
Correctly so, That is why we came to a decision to assist the resident of Usindiso building and place a skip outside that they can use it. We did an inquiry.
No, I'm referring to inside the building in terms of whether there was sufficient receptacles in order to avoid.
Then your question is not clear, Mr. Maponya. I thought you were asking whether there was an inquiry before they dispatched the bins to Delvas and Albert Street. Make your question clear.
Indeed, so, Commissioner. That was my first question. I thought maybe he answered. I was following up in terms of whether there was an inquiry to inquire whether inside the building there was a proper waste management and the materials that were given were sufficient, seemingly that there was dumping inside. So logic may dictate that if there is dumping out inside, one would even imagine what's going on inside the building. So I'm referring to that inquiry, whether there was an inquiry as a follow-up to the question.
Yes, but he has already responded to that question.
And
He
so,
says there was an inquiry on their side.
I will avoid that question.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ike ube umeli umnumzane uMaponya esefaka umbuzo ukuthi njengoba kubonakala sengathi lemgqomo okukhulunywe ngayo ukuthi laba bantu bahlinze kwayona banikezwa yona yayingabonakali ukuthi iphi naba abantu balahla umgqomo noma balahla udoti ngaphandle ingabe kwaba khona inuphenyo lwenziwa ngalokho yilapho ke umeli umnumzane uMnyandu ngenelele khona ecela ukuthi cha lendlela yokubuza ufuna ukuyinqanda ingaqhubeki ngesizathu sokuthi kuzwakala sengathi lendlela ahamba ngayo umeli umnumzane uMaponya kuba sengathi ibingekho imgqomo ngaphakathi kaDodi kanti lapha kule commission kwathula ubufakazi ezithebeni zayo zethula umnumzane uVusmuzi Kenneth Dube owakubeka kwacaca ukuthi cha imgqomo yayikhona ngaphakathi kumani ukuthi kwakukhona amaqembu athile ngaphakathi ayengavumi ukuthi isetshenziswe lemgqomo kodwa hayi ukuthi yayingekho yayikhona usihlalo weCommission ube esengenelela uma eseqedile umnumzane uMnyandu ukuthi cha makaqhubeke umnumzane uMaponya nendlela yakhe yokubuza ukuya phambili ube seqhubeka ke umnumzane uMaponya ngokuthi aphinda abuze futhi ukuthi ingabe likhona yini uphenyo olwenziwa lapho kuye kwathi ke ukudida kancane ukuthi lolu phenya khuluma ngalo lushiwo ubani ufakazi ushilo ukuthi yebo silwenzile thina uphenyo ngaphakathi ingakho saze sanquma ukuthi asibahlinzeke ngomgqomo omkhulu ngoba sesilwenzile uphenyo usihlalo bese ecela ukuthi akathi ukucacisa lapho ngoba uma khuluma ngalolu phenyo lingahle lidide ukuthi iluphi uphenyo akhuluma ngalo ngoba kuzwakala sengathi seyiphenduliwe le ndaba yalokho okubizwa ukuthi inquiry yokuphenya ngalolu daba ubeke umnumzane uMaponya esethi hayikwe kulungile uzoshintsha umbuzo wakhe aqhubeke nokunye.
Take into account the plastic bags and the skips that were provided for at the Usindiso building, was there any other means that were provided in order to address this issue?
Now, in terms of our bylaws, we don't provide plastic bags to individuals or to any resident or any business people. The only plastic bags that we use them for ourselves on streets, for our cleaners to use them, not for business people, not for any occupants of any sort of a building or household.
Umeli umnumzane uMaponya ubesethi ke ngaphandle kwezikhwama zoplastiki enanikeza zona abantu nalo yamgqomo esithi skip lo yamgqomo omkhulu ingabe khona inokunye niye nakuhlinzeka abantu ufakazi uthi cha ngokomthetho kamasipala abavunyelwe ukunikeza noma abanikezi abantu izakhamuzi ngaba amabhizinisi ababanikezi nje amaplastiki noma izikhwama zoplastiki ukuthi bazisebenzise kunalokho labo plastiki basetshenziswa yibona abasebenzisa ukufaka udoti kodwa imithetho yomasipala ayivumi ukuthi banikeze bahlinzeke umphakathi ngalama plastiki okuqoqa udoti.
Now, given the cause of complaint that there was dumping outside of the Usindiso building, was there any other program that was created by yourselves and your office in addressing and educating and informing the residents of Usindiso about waste management?
As far as I can record, along next to Usindiso building, there's a taxi rank. It's a mini taxi rank. We used to deploy environmental educators to assist and educate people around that precinct. I'm not sure whether the residents of Usindiso were part of that education and awareness or not. So, but basically to say we went inside the building to educate them, no, we did not do that.
Ubesebuza ke manje ukuthi njengoba kwase kukhona ikhonondo noma izikhalazo ezazikhona ukuthi kunokungcola kuleli bhilidi, ingabe zikhona yini ezinye inhlela abaqhamuka nazo ukuze babhekane nalesi simo sokunqanda ukungcola okwakwenzeka lapha ya, mhlawumbe ukubatshela abantu abahlala kuleli bhilidi noma ukubafundisa nje ngokuphathwa kukadoti ukuthi uphathwa kanjani? Ufakazi uthi cha, azikho inhlelo eziqondile abake bazithatha bazisa ngaphakathi ebhilidini bafundisa abantu bakhona, abazange babe nalolo hlelo. Kodwa bude buduze naleli bhilidi kune rank yamatekisi ekhona lapho, uthi babeke nabantu abafundisa ngokunakekelwa kwemvelo abaye babe lapho bafundise kuleyo rank. Akazike naye ukuthi kuyenzeka yini izakhamuzi zaleli bhilidi zize uma kuzofundiswa la ngoba kusuke kuse rank, ilokho angakwazi, kodwa bona abakaze bangene ebhilidini bayofundisa.
Now, given what you have stated, do you know of any complaint by any resident of Usindiso building in terms of the state of cleanliness within the Usindiso building?
Are you referring outside or inside the building?
Inside the building.
No.
Ngokwazi ke manje kwakho umbuzo ubheka kufakazi ukuthi kukhona yini izikhalo azaziyo ezake zavela ngokungcola zafika kubona ngokuphathene nokungcola kwa leli bhilidi. Uyabuza ufakazi ukuthi usho ukungcola okuphi ke ngaphakathi noma lezo zikhalo ngaphakathi noma ngaphandle? Umeli uthi ngaphakathi, uthi cha abaka baze bazithole.
Am I right that as your office pick it up, you have a constitutional mandate to ensure that the environment of the residents of Johannesburg are clean and safe?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Uyambuza futhi ukuthi ingabe uyazi yini ukuthi banomthwalo obekwa umthethosisekelo walelizwe ukuthi kufanele bagcine izakhamuzi kakhulukazi zaleli dolobha njenge pick it up zihlale endaweni ephephile nehlanzekile. Ufakazi uthi uyasazi leso sibopho abanaso.
Wouldn't you say that that constitutional mandate puts a responsibility in your office in order to ensure that there's proper waste management inside the Johannesburg residence, the buildings, and that you ensure that the buildings, to some extent, and the compliant of cleanliness in terms of the bylaws is adhered to?
Okay, in terms of waste management bylaws, yes, we are aware of the sustainability of waste outside the streets, but not inside somebody's property or any household. It only implies on the streets.
Ubeke sembuza ke manje ukuthi uyazi yini ukuthi ngokomthetho sisekelo kuba semahlombe abo noma ihhovisi lakhe elisinomthwalo omkhulu wokuqiniseka ukuthi izakhamuzi zaleli dolobha zihlala endaweni ehlanzekile nokuthi amabhilidi ahlanzekile. Ufakazi uyavuma ukuthi yebo ngokulawulwa kokungcola noma kadoti banawo lo mthwalo semahlombe abo, kodwa ngokolwazi lwakhe umthwalo semahlombe abo ungaphandle izinto ezenzeka emgwaqweni, ukungcola okwenzeka emgwaqweni abanawo umthwalo ngezinto ezenzeka ngaphakathi komuzi womuntu lapho akubona okusemahlombe abo ngalokho bona babheka izinto ezenzeka ngaphandle.
Then if in terms of the bylaws, you are not mandated to ensure that the buildings are clean and there's proper waste management, then can you tell the commission as to who?
Okay. In terms of waste management bylaw, it is the obligation or responsibility of the occupant to make sure that wherever he is or he has to make sure it's clean. We only provide with receptacles for them to contain waste. And that waste must be taken outside in a collection day. All our residents, they know their schedule, that if it's Monday, my dustbin has to go out on Monday. If it's Tuesday, my dustbin goes out on Tuesday. So it has been communicated to most of our residents. They know their collection schedule.
Umbuzo manje olandelayo uthi uma kuwukuthi imithetho yamasipala ayikubeke emahlombe enu ukuthi kufanele niqiniseke ukuthi amabhilidi ahlanzekile ngaphakathi, ubani konomthwalo? Ufakazi uthi cha, ngokwazi lwakhe umuntu onomthwalo ngokuhlanzeka kwebhilidi ngaphakathi abahlali balelo bhilidi abasuke bengaphakathi. Bona into abayifuneke nje bayihlinzeke ukuqiniseka ukuthi baletha imigqomo ebangaphandle. Bese emva kwalokho betshela abantu balayo ndawo ukuthi ngosuku oluthile siyafika thina uma kungumsombuluko noma uLwesibili izakhamuzi ziyalwazi usuku lwazo bese sizoqoqa umgqomo noma udodi. Nezakhamuzi futhi ziyazi ukuthi lo dodi uma bewuzoqoqa kufanele ube ungaphandle. Abangeni ngaphakathi emzini bathatha udodi, kufanele udodi ube uhleli ngaphandle lapho bezowuqoqa khona.
Now, who exactly is mandated to ensure that the bylaws inside the Usindiso building or any other building of the city of Johannesburg are adhered to, especially in terms of the waste management?
Best to my knowledge, the occupants.
No, I'm saying I've heard the evidence that you have led that the occupants have the responsibility. Now, in an instance that there is irresponsible residents, so who is mandated to ensure that there is compliance with the bylaws inside that building?
Mr. Maponya, I don't understand that line of cross-examination.
Madam Chair,
Make me understand that line of cross-examination.
indeed so, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Where I'm going is that, yes, there was, he's referring to irresponsibility as we have heard.
He has already testified as to the responsibility of the residents insofar as waste management is concerned inside the building.
I agree to that effect,
Yes.
Madam Chair. What I'm trying to get to is that if there's non-compliance by the residents themselves, then who is mandated to make sure that the residents of the buildings are adhering to those bylaws? I'm asking as to his
I
knowledge.
still don't understand that line of cross-examination.
Maybe let me make it simple. Madam Chair, yes, I
If the
understand.
residents do not if the residents do not comply with the waste management in the building, of which he is saying they have no accountability insofar as that is concerned. So what is your question?
Yes, I'm saying, I'm trying to ask the witness that, yes, I understand that the residents have the responsibility to ensure that there is adherence to the bylaws in terms of they are part of the bargain. Even in terms of maybe water and electricity, there is that responsibility to the residents. So I'm asking in terms of his knowledge, that just in general, that who is then mandated to ensure that those bylaws are adhered to, and if those bylaws are not adhered to, maybe let's say the Usindiso building is dirty inside.
I will
then
not
who-
allow that line of cross-examination, Mr. Maponya.
I will
Yes.
withdraw that question, Your
Yes.
Lordship, given that my time is against me. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ake ube phinde futhi wawubuza umbuzo bese ke ubuza ngaphambili ummeli umnumzana uMaponya ukuthi ubani ngempela okufanele aqiniseke ukuthi imithetho yomasipala yokuhlanzeka ngaphakathi ebhilidini iyalandelwa. Ufakazi ushilo wathi abahlali abahlala kulelo bhilidi bona abanesibopho sokuqiniseka ukuthi iyalandelwa. ube futhi esabuyela futhi ukuthi cha ngiyakuzwa ke lokho kodwa manje ngifuna ukuqonda ukuthi uma bengawulandelike ubani onesibopho sokuqiniseka ukuthi bayayithobela imithetho kamasipala usihlalo ubese genela futhi esho ukuthi cha akaluzwa kahle le ndlela yembuzo yakho ukuthi uqondeni ngoba ufakazi useshilo wathi abantu abahlala ngaphakathi banesibopho izakhamuzi zokuthi kugcineke ukuhlanzeka ngaphakathi yize kunjalo ummeli uye waqhubeka ezama ukuchaza ukuthi ngisho kunjalo angithi kunezinye izinto ngaphakathi abantu okufanele bazenze njengamanzi ukukhokhela ugesi njalo njalo ake sithi ke endabeni yokuhlanzeka ufuna yena ukuthola ukuthi ufakazi ngokolwazi lwakhe ubani onesibopho sokuqiniseka ukuthi imithetho yomasipala yokuhlanzeka iyalandelwa nangaphakathi ebhilidini ubeke usihlalo esethi cha hayi uyacela ukuthi angabe akakuvumeli ukuthi kuqhutshekwe nalolu hlobo lombuzo njengoba kubonakala lungacaci ngendlela okufanele licace ngayo khona ke ube eseshintsha ummeli uthi cha kulungile uzoshintsha indlela yombuzo kwazise nesikhathi sesiphelile.
Thank you. So we have had evidence in this commission that the Usindiso building and certain floors were unclean and there was a lack of waste management within the Usindiso building. Do you think, or in your vision, that you have done your part in terms of addressing the cleanliness of the Usindiso building? Be that as it may, that you have alluded to the commission that your mandate is outside the Usindiso building and not inside. So my question is to you, are you satisfied that Pick It Up or the city of Johannesburg has done its mandate in terms of service to the residents of Usindiso building?
Okay. What happened to Usindiso building was an eye-opener to everybody, especially to us, the custodian of waste. So we are not sure whether, we are not aware whether there's waste, what type of waste was inside the building, we are not aware, we don't know. But it was an eye-opener to us, not only to mention Usindiso buildings, other buildings as well. If the policy can be changed, Pick It Up will be always willing to say, let's go around the table, let's talk about this. Can we assist such buildings? Can we assist such household? Yes, that one, if the policy can be changed, I think we can do more.
Umbuzo ke manje ukuthi njengoba kuthula ubufakazi kule commission kwachazwa ukuthi izitezi ngaphakathi kuzaleli bhilidi zazingcolile. Ingabe ke bakholelwa ukuthi bona njenge Pick It Up bakwenza konke yini ukuhlinzeka izakhamuzi zaleli bhilidi ngezinkonzo ezifanele ingabe yena ugculisekile yini ukuthi bakwenze konke. Uma iphendula ufakazi uthi into eyenzeke ebhilidini lasosindiso yinto evula amehlo cishe kubo nabo nakwamanye amabhilidi ngoba okwamanje bebengazi ukuthi kukhona ukungcola kuphi ebhilidini nokuthi ukungcola kunjani kodwa uma kungashintshwa inqubo mgomo bona bazimisela ukuyilandela leyo nqubo mgomo mhlawumbe ishintshwe manje ibavumela ukuthi bangene nangaphakathi ebhilidini bazimisela ukuthi bakwenze lokho ukuze kugwemeke hayi nje ibhilidi losindiso kuphela namanye amabhilidi akhona edolobheni asesimoyeni esifanayo.
Now we have had
Mr. Maponya, you are approaching dangerous territory. Your time for cross-examination has long expired. I just want to bring it to your attention.
I see that, Madam Chair, just maybe one last question in terms of the cross-examination. We have heard in this commission that there was an accelerant to the fire. Would you agree with me that waste and lack of waste management inside buildings can be identified as an accelerant and hazardous to the humans?
I wouldn't agree with you on that. As much as I've said, we don't know what type of waste was inside. Was it dry waste? Was it builder's rubble? Was it cupboards? We're not aware. So I don't agree with that.
Ubeke usihlale sexwayisa ummeli ukuthi isikhathi sakhe vele manje seliphelile ngokuphelele ngakho akabheke manje ukuthi wenze njani njengoba isikhathi sakhe sesiphelile. Kodwa ucela ukubuza nje umbuzo athi umbuzo wakhe wokugcina. Kulombuzo wakhe uthi uyazi yini ukuthi ngaphakathi kuleli bhilidi kunezinto ebezithungeleka kalula ebezingabanga ukuthi umlilo ubhebhetheke. Uyakholwa yini ukuthi mhlawumbe lokho kubangelwe udoti obukhona nokungaqoqwa kwawo kwase kubeka ukuphila engozini? Ufakazi uthi akakwazi ukuvuma ngokuphelele kulokho kwazise akazi nohlobo lodoti owawukhona ngaphakathi ebhilidini. Ingabe kwakudoti omanzi, kwakudoti owomile, kwakungamakhabhothi noma kwakuyini into angayazi. Ngakho akakwazi ukwamukela lokho ukuthi kwaba nesandla nakho ekwenzeni umlilo ubhebhetheke.
Would you say that lack of proper waste management can, in such circumstances as the Usindiso building on the 31st of August, accelerate and exacerbate the situation of the fire?
I think, as I've said, that we are not aware of what type of waste was inside. So we fully, as pick it up, saying we don't know whether it was that waste inside that ignited the fire. We're not aware.
Uthi umeli ungavuma yini ukuthi ukuntuleka kokulawulwa kokucoshwa kadoti ngaphakathi ebhilidini kwaba nesandle kubhebhethikiseni umlilo? Ufakazi uthi njengoba eka asho ngaphambili abalwazi uhlobo lukadoti owawukhona ngaphakathi ebhilidini ngakho angeke asho ukuthi ngempela waba nesandla ekutheni umlilo ubhebhetheke.
Madam Chair, I see that my time is now finished. I will just end there.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Maponya. Advocate Muloto.
We have no questions for the witness.
Thank you. Mr. Mnyandu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is no re-examination.
Mr. Mbanu, thank you for coming to give evidence. You are excused as a witness.
Thank you.
With leave of the Commissioner, Madam Chair, may we kindly call upon our final witness of the day, which is Mr. Monacheng.
Yes. Advocate Muloto.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. Could you please state your full names for the record?
My name is Rokulani Monacheng.
Do you have any objection to taking an oath?
No, I've got no objection.
Do you then swear that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Witness sworn.
Thank you, Advocate Muloto.
Good morning, Mr. Monacheng.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir.
The last time that you gave evidence in this commission, you alluded that you were the acting chief of the emergency services in Johannesburg. Is that still the case?
Correct, yes.
Uqaleke umnumzana Monaheng ngokuthi enze izifungo kulezi zifungo befunga ukuthi uzokhuluma iqiniso kuphela kubufakazini bakhe futhi ukwenze lokho ngokuthi asho ukuthi inkosi imsize. Ubeke eseqala umnumzana Maponya ngokuthi ngegcina ukukhuluma naye ugcine isikhundla esiphethe engumbambeli wesikhulu esiphezulu eminyangweni kwezomlilo. Ingabe kusenjalo yini? Uvumile ukuthi kusenjalo?
In leading your evidence, you had stated that on the day of the night of the fire, you were off duty. Am I right?
Yes, I was at home when you got a call of the fire.
So, can you tell the commission and put the commission into its confidence that are you competent, or do you think that you are a competent person to give evidence in terms of what transpired on site on the night of the fire? Be that as it may, that you were not present.
Okay. First part of the question, it says, am I competent to give evidence to this commission? The answer is yes. Second part is that, can I lead evidence even if I was not on scene? The answer is not. I was on scene. I responded to the incident. I said in my earlier testimony and submission, I've smelled the fire. I've seen the victims that were rescued out of the building. I felt the heat myself. I've been to the building in different floors. Henceforth, I could give evidence. Over and above, I had a team that handed over the scene to myself, and we discussed the incident itself.
Ubeke umeli eseqala ngokuthi athi ebufakazini bakhe ufakazi umnumzana Monahe ngesikhathi esidlule kwathi ngalolu suku lwangomhla ka31 August 2023 wayengekho emsebenzini phecelezi waye off duty. Uyavuma ufakazi ukuthi yebo ngalolu suku vele wayesekhaya. Manje ummeli ube seqhubeka ethi ingabe ke ngenxa yalokho ingabe ukufanele yini umuntu azibona ofanele ukuthi angeza lapha anikeze ubufakazi kule commission. Impendulo yakhe umnumzane uMunaheng njengofakazi uthi uma ephendula embuzweni wakhe wokuqala wokuthi ingabe umuntu ofanele yini ukuthi angazonikeza ubufakazi lapha, yebo ungumuntu ofanele ukuthi angazonikeza ubufakazi. Kanti endabeni yesibili lena yokuthi wayengekho ngalolu suku lwesigameko uthi cha wayekhona. Unobufakazi abusho ukuthi wayekhona, wawubona umlilo, walizwa iphunga lokusha, wangena ngaphakathi ebhilidini ezitezi kulo, ngakho wayekhona, wakubona kahle okwenzeka ngalolu yasuku lwesigameko. Kanti ke futhi nesigameko ngokwaso sadluliselwa kuye iqembu elaselivele likhona, ngakho kukho kokubili ukumenza afaneleke ukuthi angathula ubufakazi futhi nangaloko okwenzeka ngalolu suku angakuchaza kahle ngoba wayekhona.
Now, as the acting chief of the EMS, you have compiled a report dated the 9th of September 2023, and you also signed a report. Could you tell the commission as to what considerations, evidence, and material was used in compiling this report that you have given?
Can you rephrase the question? Said what material was used to compile a report?
Indeed so.
What evidence was collected?
Indeed so.
When you say material was used, I don't understand. You mean cameras, videos, live recordings and stuff?
Indeed so.
No, we never used that in a point. There's a visual inspection of what transpired. It's what, actually, let me break it down for you, the report. The report outlines how was a call received. And I'm going to maybe break it down in our value chain. Number one is when was a call received? Which resources were dispatched? What are the actions of the first responding officer? What was the response and action of the second responding officers? How did the incident grow? What then other resources were called to assist on that incident? Not only that, what other reliable resources were available to us in the same report? It also outlines of, say, what additional resources were called to come and assist at the incident. Therefore, when you look at the report, it outlines everything, also in times of, say, which vehicles were dispatched. Not only doing that, it also tells you the size, the venue, the venue of the incident, where it was. We all know it was a Usindiso building, corners of Delvas, in Marshalltown. Therefore, that's how it is. In my report, we never attached any pictures. In my report, we never attached any video recordings. in my pictures, we never attach any form of any electronic sort of version. It's more of a report written with the knowledge of the first responding officers, the senior officers, the report also from incident command side, as to say that. I don't know if you understand incident command side. Therefore, it also tells you which other resources were received and how did you command and control the incident up until to finality.
Ubeke eseqhubeka ummeli umnumzana uMaponya ngokuthi athi njengoba ibambela lesikhulu esiphezulu eminyangweni wakhe ngomhla ka9 September 2023 wabhala umbiko. Manje ubuza ukuthi kulombiko owabhalwa yini ayisebenzisa ekubhaleni lombiko. Uthande ukwazi ke lapho ufakazi ukuthi ingabe uqondeni maye ekhuluma ngezinto ezasetshenziswa kuze kuhlanganiswe lombiko. Ingabe usho izinto ezinjengama camera, ama video athathwa wathi ummeli yebo. Ube secacisa ukuthi angathanda ukuyihlukanisa kahle lento ayenze icace ukuthi cha okokuqala zange basebenzise lokho kulombiko uma bewubhala. Kodwa lombiko wakhe uma uhlukanisa unezigaba ezihlukahlukene ozihlanganisayo zibandakanyeka. Okokuqala kubandakanyeka ukuthi balithola nini nje ucingo olwalubatshela ngesigameko lungena luthi kunesigameko esinjena. Lombiko uyachaza futhi ukuthi yiziphi izinsiza bona ke ababe sebeyazithumela ngemva kokutholwa leyo nhlabamkhosi ebatshela ukuthi sekuqubuke umlilo. Babe sebechaza futhi ukuthi ubani owafika kuqala njenge first responder oyaya kuleyo sigameko somlilo. Ubani owafika waba owesibili kuleso sigameko somlilo. Baphinde bachaze futhi ukuthi bakhona yini abantu ababizwa ukuthi abazokwelekelela ekucisheni umlilo. Bakhona yini ababe khona available ukuthi bangazosiza ngaleso sikhathi. Kuphinde futhi kuchazwe nendawo kulombiko wakhe. Indawo ngoba siyayazi sonke ukuthi Usindiso building olisekhona Delvas kuyachazwa ngokuqondile kulombiko wakhe. Azikho ithombe abazifakile kulombiko, akukho ama video, kodwa bayazi ukuthi kulombiko kuhlanganiswa nezikhulu eziphezulu ezikhundleni ezazikhona nabantu abangabakhuzi babo noma okhomanda abachazayo ukuthi nakho okwenzeka. Ngakho lombiko ubandakanya izinto eziningana ezenzeka ngokoqobo ngalolu suku lwesigameko.
Now, the first call, according to the report that you have given, was received at about 01:21 a.m. Now, am I right to assume that in ascertaining this information, you used some form of a phone log or a telephone transcript to ascertain this very information?
Correct, yes.
Now, the report then says that the fire engine arrived at the scene at about 01:36. That was about 8 minutes or so after the phone call and the lapse of time. Now, could you tell the commission as to how did you ascertain this information as to the arrival of the fire truck at the scene?
Okay. What happens in a very chain, when you phone us, you speak to the command center or control room, you log a call and say, I'm so and so, I'm at this location, here's my telephone number, I'm reporting a particular incident. That call gets recorded into a system. Then when the control room dispatches resources, the office acknowledges that in a particular fire station. In this case, we had Fairview fire stations acknowledging that. If you look at the report, it then tells you which vehicles were dispatched from where, with how many personnel, what type of vehicle. When they arrive on scene, they then report to the command center. We've since arrived on scene. Can we give you a report of what we now can witness? They then give a report. That's how things work. It's two ways. Number one, in the control room, and also by the responding teams, meaning the firefighters and rescue technicians.
So you are saying that, maybe a bit, the arrival, the ascertainment of the arrival is based on what the firefighters on the scene are reverting back to the command or the command center?
No. Let's clear the point. No firefighter has report to the control center. The officer in charge of firefighters in that vehicle, he's the one who will report to the command center.
So you are saying that officer is the one that is responsible, wholly responsible to ascertain this very time to say we have arrived on scene and this is what we are seeing.
Absolutely, yes.
Ubeke qala ummeli ngokuthi buyele embikweni okhona obhaliwe ukuthi ucingo lokuqala lwangena kweyabezomcishamlilo lwangena cishe ngo-1:20 Tathakusa lubika lesi sigameko somlilo bese uthi uma kunjalo kusobala ukuthi kunento abayisebenzisayo phela eshoyo ebizwa ukuthi phone log echazayo ukuthi ucingo lungene nini. Kuwo futhi umbiko kuvela ukuthi imoto yokuqala ecisha umlilo yafika ngo-1:36 okuyimzuzu engu-8 uma ibalwa kusukela ocingweni lokuqala olubikile kokufika kwale loli elizocisha umlilo. Ube esebuza ummeli ukuthi akakachaza ukuthi bakuthola kanjani lokho ukuthi ngempela iloli lifike emzuzwini engu-8. Ube sechaza ke ufakazi ukuthi kuba kanjena ke ucingo luyafika lungene lapha ya endaweni abayibiza ukuthi control room. Lapho ke umuntu uyazichaza ukuthi ngingusibanibani ngisendaweni ethile kunesigameko esinje esenzakalayo. Khona ke kube sekurekhodwa ke konke lokho bese kubhekwa isiteshi esizosabela kulolo bizo olusuke lifika kulolu daba ke kwakuyi Fireview Fire Station. Yiyo ke ezobe sikulungeleke ukuthi iphumeke ngaso leso sikhathi. Kodwa futhi uma kuphunywa kuyabhalwa ukuthi hlobo luni lwemoto ophumayo iyocisha umlilo. Bangaka abantu abaphakathi kuyona abayocisha umlilo. Futhi uma seyifikile kubiza ngokuthi it's a two way. Uma sekufikile kuyabikwa le emuva ukuthi ke sekufikiwe ke endaweni yesigameko. Ubese buza ke ummeli ukuthi okusho ukuthi kuthenjelwa kulomuntu ozofike abike ukuthi sekufikiwe la. Ufakazi umnumzana Manahe ukuthi cha kunesikhulu iofficer esikhulu okuyisona esithi uma sesifika ke bese siyabika. Ummeli uthi konke lokhu kuthenjelwa kulesi sikhulu. Impendulo ithi yebo le officer noma lesi sikhulu isona esizobika ukuthi kufikwe ngobani isikhathi.
Now maybe if I may, to also explain to say that the incident at Delva Street, it was also captured in our city's closed circuit camera systems, whereby the members in a command center, we call it Integrated Intelligence Command Center, that's when they pick it up to say that there's a commotion in that area that could witness the fire, henceforth they could summon our team. Therefore, there's recordings of the very same incident itself in the early hours of the morning then.
Ube nje senezela ukucacisa kulokhu ukuthi enye into eyenezela kulokhu futhi ukuthi lesi sigameko saqoshwa ikamera yabo ekhona ebhekelele zobunhloli kule yandawo. Ngakho yakwazi ukubona ukuthi kunalesi sigameko kukhona uxukuzela okukhona kule yandawo. Ngakho nayo le camera iphinde yenezele ebufakazini obenezela kulokho okushiwo lo muntu ukuthi ngalolu suku kwenzeka lesi sigameko.
Thank you for that clarity. Now, would you say to what extent are you satisfactory in terms of the response of your team in dealing with the fire, taking into account the first call and the arrival at the scene?
Okay. In terms of response, we call it the response times of the first arriving vehicle. I'm more than satisfied. They have arrived on time. They could contain the situation going forward. Not only that, it's what was contained in South African national standards of saying the vehicle that you sent, is it fit for purpose? Not only one vehicle, we've sent resources to assist in Usindiso. Therefore, when you look at my report, it will outline for you what other additional vehicles that we've sent out. Therefore, I can sit here with my head facing down and say, regarding Usindiso incident, we responded on time with sufficient vehicles that could do what is necessitated in terms of the South African national standards, in terms of the firefighting amount of water to be discharged when you got on scene. And the rescues which you undertook, definitely yes.
Umbuzo ke ovela kummeli uthi ingabe ke nigculisekile yini njengoba uhleli lapha ungasho ukuthi ugculisekile ngendlela ena singatha ngayo lesi sigameko somlilo ngalolu suku. Ufakazi uthi ngempela bagculisekile kakhulukazi ngesikhathi sokusheshe bafike esigamekweni somlilo. Uthi ugculiseke ngokuphelela ngasho ngeqholo ukuthi bawenze kahle umsebenzi wabo uma kuziwa lapho hayi nje endabeni yokufika kuphela. Kodwa nasohlotsheni lwemoto elwathunyelwa akuthunyelwanga noma yiluphi kwathunyelwa uhlobo lwemoto oluvumelana naleso sidingo sanga leso sikhathi olwaluzofeza inhloso yaleso simo esasivelile. Inani lomthamo wamanzi asetshenziswa konke uyakholelwa ukuthi bakwenza kahle ngokuvumelana nemithetho ke ebekiwe uma kuziwa ekucisheni umlilo.
Now, we have heard in this commission from the victims of the fire complaining about the time of response of the firefighters, your department. So one is Mr. Hanya in paragraph 12 of his statement. He simply says that the fire department took very long to come, and I estimate that they took about 45 minutes to arrive at the scene. And then another victim amongst others, which is Setogwake, testified and complained.
Setogwake who?
Setogwake Zung.
Yes.
So testified that in paragraph 27 of her statement that from when I exited the building, it took about an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours for any help to arrive. It was only then that the firefighters and ambulances and the JMPD and the police came. Then she further says that I spoke to the firefighters, and the problem the firefighters had was that the fire was high. They didn't manage to stop the fire. But for this part, I would like you to avoid it. I will examine you later on. But maybe focus on the timelines as I've alluded.
You see, sir, the two members of public, with respect, when they say we took 45 minutes to get on scene, I'll not agree with that submission. You know, if somebody says, I'm the one that phoned, I phoned at this time, I spoke to so and so, here's evidence. None of them came, or none of them can produce any means of evidence phoning us and reporting the incident. You say, if somebody's got a reference number from us and say, I'm the one that phoned, I'll have a different view. But I also said to you, we picked up the incident on cameras, henceforth our response. Okay? That's how it is. Therefore, I can produce evidence when the call was received. Already done that. And what time were the guys on scene, meaning the first responding team? The 45 minutes is something that I wouldn't really look into it as much, because we responded within the timelines and stipulated times. Let me also unpack the situation that I've learned in emergency services. A minute when you're waiting for help, it sounds like an hour. And I'll undertake so that maybe that's how members of public felt like. Because they were looking for somebody to come and assist. Now, if somebody says to you, when I exited the building, it took me more than an hour. The question is, how long were you in a building? When did the fire started in the same situation? I wouldn't know. I wasn't on scene in the same space. But I can upfront advise and lead evidence and say, this is the report that came from my office, this is how the report was structured, this is how we formulated the report, and actually it's evident enough. You saw that it took us for so long to respond on scene. The question is, if you may put it to me and say, this member of public phoned your center using this number at this time, you acknowledge the call, it took you 45 minutes, we'll have a different discussion.
Ubeke meli ethi ufakazi kukhona abasinda kulenhlekelele noma bayizisulu ababikayo nabakhonondayo kakhulu endabeni yesikhathi sokufika kwabezicishamlilo. Ucaphune omunye ufakazi umnumzana Hana ku paragraph 12 lapho ethi yena kwathatha imizuzu engama45 45 minutes ukuthi bafike. Kanti omunye ufakazi owethule ubufakazi kule komishani umnumzane Sethokwakhe Zungu naye esigabeni 27 uthi uma ebala kusukela ephuma ebhilidini ebangaphandle cishe kwathatha imihora noma ngaphezulu cishe ke amahora amabili ngaphambi kokuthi aze abone abezosizo bezimo eziphuthumayo bezobasiza njengama ambulance amaphoyisa nezicishamlilo. Uthi waze wakhuluma nabo abezicishamlilo bachaza ukuthi ingxaki noma inkinga abebhekene nayo umlilo ubuphezulu kakhulu. Kodwa ke ummeli ubesethi ke akazi ukungena kakhulu kuleyo okwamanje ucela ufakazi akakhulume ngendaba yesikhathi yokusheshsha ukufika kwezicishamlilo sigamekweni. Ufakazi ke uthi le ndaba yemzuzu engu45 noma 45 akavumelani nayo. Ubezoyizwa ukube le ndaba ibikwa umuntu owalishaya ucingo washo wathi ngesikhathi esithile ngashaya ucingo ngakhuluma noSibanibani nansi reference number anginikeze yona bagcina befike ngesikhathi esithile. Uthi ubezokuzwa ukuba kunobufakazi obuphathekayo obunjalo kodwa manje abushiwo umuntu onjalo bushiwo omunye umuntu ongazange akashayele nje ucingo abezicishamlilo. Bona banobufakazi obutholakala kwicamera ubufakazela ngokuthe ngqo lokho akushilo. Okokuqala yena ubushilo ubufakazi bokuthi ucingo lwangena nini khona kama camera azofakazela ukuthi bafike nini bona. Ngokwazi kwakhe vele ibhodo elilindiwe alisheshe ukubila. Kuba njalo uma ulindile into ayisheshi ukwenzeka. Umzuzu owodwa ulinde usizo ungaba ngathi isikhathi eside kakhulu. Ngakho uthi ke kule ndaba njengoba ethi lo mfakazi waphuma wazi kwasekuphela isikhathi esingaka angeke asho ukuthi wayesehlala isikhathi esingakanani ngaphakathi ebhilidini ngoba wayengekho. Kodwa ke manje akushoyo ukuthi konke lokhu kubonisa ukuthi akakwazi ukwamukela ubeyokwamukela kuphela uma kubikwa umuntu onobufakazi obuphathekayo owashaya ucingo emva kwalokho wakufakazela ukuthi bafika nini.
Now, would you agree with me that these statements suggest that you were late on the scene? Be that as it may, that you received a call at the particular time and space. But these averments that I've just put to you, they suggest that you were late.
No, I will not agree to it. Number one is that you never put for me, if you say to me, Mr. So-and-so, Ms. So-and-so says we're 45 minutes late. 45 minutes from what time? To what time? Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to ask you questions while I'm sitting.
I'm saying to you, apologies, Chair, that they suggest that you were late.
Not at all.
It's another issue if you will say I agree or not.
No, not at all. I don't agree.
Okay, thank you.
Ubuza ukuthi ngokwalezi statement sesizishilo ke zalabo fakazi lezi statement zizwakala zihlongoza ukuthi bafika sekwephuzile. Uyavumelana yini nalokho? Ufakazi uthi yazi bekuyoba ngcono uma bechaza ukuthi lemzuzu engu45 iqala kuphi kunini lapho beyikwazi ukuyiqala khona. Kodwa ummeli uyachaza ukuthi cha angisho ukuthi ngithi vumelana nakho kodwa uyavumelana yini ukuthi kuzwakala sengathi kuthi nina nafika sekwephuzile kodwa ufakazi uthi cha akavumelana.
Now, several victims have testified in this commission stating that when the first fire trucks came, they were ill-equipped in that there was no water, and one fire truck had to go back to source those resources. So what do you say about those averments?
So let me just maybe orientate the House. You see, we've got different types of fleet of vehicles. And in my statement, we've made it clear, the first responding fire engine, it was from Fairview Fire Station, followed by an air truck, from Fairview Fire Station. Third vehicle to arrive on scene was a fire engine from Malvern Fire Station. In a day in question, no fire engine left the scene. Secondly, what you just put to me is what public tends not to understand. And probably let me use the opportunity to try to educate and to put a story across. A fire engine that is carrying water, that water is limited to a particular time of usage. Our fire engines can pump 4,000 liters per minute of water. We then rely on the hydrant system, meaning the water reclamation systems that we couple the hoses into to continuously supply water into a fire engine. That is when members of public will think that the first arriving fire engine didn't have water. It has water. You can see on videos when the first arriving fire engine, when they were charging hoses, preparing themselves to go into the building. Other team members amongst us would then locate a fire hydrant. We gave testimony earlier on. How far were those hydrants? They're not even far outreach out of Usindiso building. They were just at the doorstep to continuously give water to the fire engine. And those hydrants were sufficiently pumping enough water. Coming to the issue of saying our fire engines didn't have water. The air truck, they all look great, by the way. Nearly the same size. Air truck doesn't carry any water. It's carrying air and compression systems and a generator and spare cylinders. Those cylinders are used by us to combat and do firefighting or rescue. Therefore, air truck doesn't carry any water. Unfortunately, members of the public wouldn't understand what an air truck looks like. But they all look right on the point. Henceforth, in the report, you're saying fire engine and an air truck or a ladder truck. Do you see those? That's how actually we've structured ourselves in the same situation. But to say that a fire engine left, go and look for resources. I wonder what resources was it looking for and where did it go to? None of our fire engines left the scene. We were hard at work. We connected to hydrants. We were fighting the fire. We did the rescue. None of our members left the scene, as a matter of fact. Therefore, that segment doesn't actually hold water for me there. I don't agree with it.
Umeli ke ube esekhuluma ukuthi abaningi abayizisulu kulenhlekelele ba lokhu bezwakalisa ukukhala ngolokho kwenzeka ngalolu yasuku ukuthi kwathi uma efika lamaloli acisha umlilo enye yawo yafika ingenawo amanzi kwaze kwadingeka ukuthi iphindele emuva iyokha amanzi bese ibuya. Ufakazi ke ube esengena kulolo daba ukuthi mhlawumbe isikhathi manje sokuthi afundise ngalolu daba yalamaloli abo abawasebenzisela ukucisha umlilo. Okokuqala uthi amaloli abo awafani. Ayinhlobonhlobo ezihlukile. Nakuba ngaphandle uma uwabuka ubona umbalo wodwa wena obomvu kodwa awafani. Kulamaloli afika ke amathathu okuqala amabili afika evela eFairview enye yayo kwakuyi air truck nayo ayichazile ukuthi uhlobo luni bese kuba yesithathu eyayivela eMalvern Fire Station. Ayikho kuwo lamaloli eyahamba yabuyela emuva. Iloli labo elithwala amanzi lithi uma liwakhipha amanzi likhiphe cisha amalitha angu 4000 hour minute, excuse me, ngomzuzu ngeminute khipha 4000 yamanzi. Ngakho babe namanzi anele ngalolu suku. Abasebenzisi kuphela nje amanzi aselolini. Kunalokho akuthiwa ama fire hydrants abathi ngesikhathi befika bawathola ayingekude kakhulu bakwazi ukuwathola ukuze nawo futhi aphinde abahlinzeke amanzi. Ngakho asikho isikhathi abake bayeke ukusebenza ngaso. Lathi lifika ithimba lakhe lalimatasa licisha umlilo bexhuma. Kodwa ke njengoba befundisa ke ngalamaloli abo uthi ayinhlobo ezicishe ezintathu ezingafani. Ngokwesibonelo i-air truck uthi ngaphakathi isuke iphethe umoya ine generator ne pump esuke beyisebenzisa ukuze isebenzise lo moya kuyona bese iba namasilinda eba nawo ngaphakathi bese kuba khona i-truck abayibiza ukuthi ladder truck. Le truck ke yona i-truck ye-stepis iyona esebenzisa i-stepis. Ngakho lamaloli uma wabuka wena ungacabanga ukuthi ayafana awafani. Ngakho akhona amaloli angawathwali amanzi kodwa asebenzayo uma kucisha umlilo. Ngakho kulesi sigameko uthi alikho ke loli elake labuyele emuva liyofuna amanzi.
Thank you for that bit of education. to myself and the public. Now, would you say that the fire department of the city of Johannesburg is adequately staffed and their members have necessary equipment and the necessary expertise to deal with the fire as we have seen at Usindiso?
Absolutely, sir. Our team is well capacitated, number one, in terms of training. We've got our own training academy in the city, whereby we train members of public. When firefighters get recruited in our own space, we train them from being members of public to become professional firefighters. We do it ourselves. We certify them not only ourselves, but what we call skills or quality of QCTO. It's Quality Council of Occupational and Trainings. That's how we've been accredited with. But coming to the issue of also the team that went out, our members are dually trained. They're firefighters EMT, meaning firefighters emergency technicians. They've got the skills and knowledge how to perform rescues. Henceforth, we're dually trained. We're not only doing firefighting and it ends there. Not the case. The vehicles that responded on scene, I said earlier on, they're pumping excess of 4,000 liters per minute. It then tells you those vehicles are fit for purpose in terms of resources. None of our firefighters will enter that building without having a breathing apparatus on their back. They had everything. They had the fully kitted equipment amongst them. Therefore, they're fully capacitated in terms of equipment and the firefighting equipment going forward, including the rescue. Not only doing this, within the city of Johannesburg ourselves, we did the rescue ourselves. Now, let me expand on terms of the rescue. We didn't just call any member within the service come and do a specialized rescue. We've got a Northview Fire Station, which is close to Alexander. When you look at my report there, it's written heavy rescue. In my report, it's another additional vehicle that came inside. That team, when they arrived on scene, they're trained to do what we call urban and search and rescue. It's a highly skilled form of training within our space. That's what we call them into. Therefore, till somebody to say to us, we're not fully capacitated, we're not qualified to go on site, it's something that doesn't even hold water for me, say, in our space. Continuously training our own members, we're continuously making sure that we keep up to international standards. Actually, the urban search and rescue team in South Africa were established within the city of Johannesburg. We've got a team that could respond internationally in South Africa, and that team is in Gauteng. The bigger number of that team is in the city of Johannesburg. The day in question, the very same team was used to do the rescue in the same building, using their own same equipment to go and rescue the victims are in the building. Therefore, to the point that you said, I don't agree to any part of the statement you just submitted to me.
Ubeke esebuza ummeli ukuthi ingabe ngokomnyango wabo ingabe banabo yini abasebenzi okuqala abanele ukwenza umsebenzi, banawo yini amakhono anele okwenza lo msebenzi, banawo yini namathuluzi anele okwenza umsebenzi. Ufakazi uma ephendula uthi banakho konke, bahlome baphelele. Okokuqala bana nezithangami lapho baye baqeqeshe khona, futhi abaqeqeshi nje kuphela abantu babo ngaphakathi, baqeqesha nomphakathi. Umphakathi uyakwazi ukuthi nawo uthola ukuqeqeshwa, baze banikeze nezitifiketi ezifanele ukuthi umuntu uyafaneleka ukuthi angenza lokhu. Ngokwamathimba abo, amathimba abo ahlukene. Kukhona ithimba athe ukwenaba kulo kancane, ithimba leli okuthiwa elihlengayo abantu noma rescue. So leli thimba ithimba elikhethekile abalisebenzisayo. Njengoba bekewachaza ukuthi amaloli abo amanzi acisha ukhipha cisha amalitha angu 4,000 ngomzuzu. Umsebenzi wabo akusikho ukucisha umlilo kuphela, kodwa nokusindisa ukuphila, ukurescue noma ukuhlenga abantu abasuke bengaphakathi. Bayaqiniseka ukuthi umuntu uma engena ebhilidini elishayo akangeni engawuthwele emhlane wakhe ibhokisi lo elimenza ukuthi akwazi ukuphefumula uba engaphakathi. Ushaya isifuba ke ngaleli thimba lase Northview athi lapha yana ithimba elikhethekile, ithimba eliyispecial leli elisebenza nje ngokuthi lihlenge ukuphila kwabantu. Uthi leli thimba elibizwa ngokuthi Urban and Search Rescue yithimba leli elingasebenzi nje kuphela lapha eNingizimu Afrika, kodwa lisebenza nakwamanye amazwe uma kudingeka liyosebenza. Ngalolu suku lwesigameko laba khona lelo thimba embikweni wakhe kuyavela ukuthi laba khona lazosiza ngalesi sikhathi sokusiza ngakho indaba yokuthi iba nethimba elingahlomile ngokwanele elingenawo amathuluzi anele kuye nje indawo imbudane leyo bahlome baphelele banakho konke abakudingayo ukuthi benze umsebenzi wabo banamakhono anele ukuthi benze umsebenzi abawunikeziwe.
Thank you for that. Madam Chair, I beg leave just to be a bit more informal, and I understand that what I'm going to say and put to the witness, he has not, maybe perhaps has not had sight of, but I want to refer to the building of Lisbon and the events that unfolded at that time, of Lisbon.
How relevant is it to the cross-examination you're conducting?
Indeed, so, Madam Chair, it's relevant to the effect of the staff and the expertise of his fire department.
Yes. How long are you going to be with your cross-examination, Mr. Maponya? How long do you still have to go?
I think about, I speak under protection, but maybe around 20 minutes I'll be done.
Yes. You are left with 10 minutes on my calculation. But I would like us at this point that we adjourn for lunch and come back. As I have indicated, you are left with 10 minutes of your cross-examination.
Madam Chair, just for clarity,
We'll adjourn,
Chair.
we'll adjourn now, and then you'll continue with your cross-examination after 2 o'clock.
thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify that we started around quarter past.
Quarter past, I'm quite aware of that.
Okay.
My calculation is based on the fact that you commenced at 11:15,
Okay,
at 12:15 rather.
indeed, so.
Yes. We'll take a lunch adjournment and reconvene at 2 o'clock.